We know farmers are suffering from the worst drought in 70 years, and we know eventually we'll be paying higher grocery bills because of that. So what's Congress doing about it? Nothing. There's a farm bill on the table which would reinstate expired disaster assistance, but it's stuck in the House of Representatives. Why? Well, Democratic Congressman Peter Welch is here to help us understand. Good morning.
Good morning.
So if this farm bill passed today, how would farmers benefit?
Well, a lot of ways. Number, we'd restore the safety net. Number two, we would reauthorize the food stamp program. Number three, a lot of those drought-stricken farmers, there's relief programs there. And, of course, they're facing the worst drought in decades. But bottom line, America needs a farm bill. And this was passed in a bipartisan vote. The Agriculture Committee really is the last best hope of bipartisan action in the House. And Frank Lucas and Colin Peterson did a great job working together. About 80 of us have sent a letter. Congresswoman Noem, a Republican from North Dakota, and I got about 80 members to send a letter to our leadership saying, hey, let's bring this to the floor. This would be the first time in history where the Ag Committee passed a bill, but it wasn't taken up on the floor of the full House. So we've got to act. Tough job, but it's not an excuse for Congress not to do its job just because it's difficult.
Well, Congressman, this is from a critic, Congressman Jim Jordan of Ohio. He's quoted in the Foundry. He says the Farm Bill went from $600 billion in 2008 to almost $1 trillion. It's bloated, he says, and we simply can't afford that at this time. How much will this Farm Bill actually cost taxpayers?
Well, it actually reduces, it eliminates 100 programs that existed before. It eliminates the direct payments. So this is going to be about $35 billion less than it was in the previous bill. So there's actually savings in this. The debate in Congress is among those like Mr. Jordan who think we should have more savings, and many on the Democratic side who think we should have more spending on the food stamp program. These are both very legitimate debates. My position is bring it to the floor, let Mr. Jordan have his say, let Mr. McGovern, who's the champion of food stamps, have his say, let the House vote, and then move it into conference and work it out. But the fact that we have these disagreements is not an excuse to stonewall and not bring this to the fore.
Well, let's talk about this farm bill. It includes crop insurance, right? And it guarantees a certain amount of income under all conditions for farmers. I know a lot of business people who would love to have that luxury. So why should farmers get this kind of assistance and not other business people?
Here's why. And the right level is always a fair debate. But farmers do not have any control over nature. So many of our farmers right now are suffering as a result of this drought. That's an act of God. They can't do anything about it. So we in this country have always had some safety net program to help farmers through those things that are beyond their control and even beyond market forces. So what's the right level? That's a fair debate. But the necessity to have an opportunity for farmers to stay and survive so that they can grow the next year, I think that's essential, and it's been supported by Republicans and Democrats. As I say, the right level of support, that's a fair debate, and we're cutting it back. But to totally take away the safety net, I think jeopardizes America's capacity to produce its own food.
I think the other critics also talk about food stamps. You mentioned this. I don't think many people know that food stamps are under the Farm Bill for some reason. Think tanks, conservative think tanks like Heritage says 80% of this bill goes to food stamps. It's something that's not popular with many Americans. Is there any compromise on this issue? I mean, should 80% of this Farm Bill go toward food stamps?
You know, we got to feed America. We've got the highest rate of poverty in this country since the 50s. People are hungry. The downturn in the economy is increasing demand for food stamps. So I do support a vigorous food stamp program, which, by the way, is good for agriculture. On the other hand, if there's any waste, fraud, or abuse in food stamps, or there are reforms that can be implemented in order to make certain that food stamps are used properly and not used as a ripoff, let's do that. I'm totally in agreement with doing it. But we've come a long way on food stamps. You know, the original Ryan budget cut them by about $130 billion. The House bill from the Ag Committee is down to 16, and this is around 4. I mean, I think we can work this out and address the legitimate concerns about that program. But we've got to have a food stamp program, in my view. It's good for farmers, and it's good for nutrition for Americans.
Congressman Welch, thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you.